feels like driving on the streets of Hanoi. Now imagine you have to drive 10 to 12 hours daily under this condition. Perhaps not many of us would find that ideal or desirable. But that is the reality that app-based motorbike taxi drivers, many of whom are young migrant workers, experience every day while making a living with ride-hailing platforms. My research in Hanoi found that among the three major ride-hailing platforms, Grab, Bee, and Gojek, the majority of app-based drivers are young university students looking for extra funds for their studies, new graduates searching for temporary jobs, or young workers wanting second jobs to cover their living expenses. App-based drivers also consist mainly of migrants arriving from neighboring rural provinces to pursue their studies or search for jobs in the city. Ride-hailing drivers are now facing complex frictions as they weave through the streets of Hanoi to make a living. My research just aims to explore the risks, frictions, and vulnerabilities that youth app-based motorbike taxi drivers experience by studying their livelihood strategies and everyday patterns of mobilities and accesses to public space. To achieve this aim, I have experimented with mobile methods during my fieldwork. This includes ride-along observations and ride-along interviews. With these mobile methods, I participated as a customer taking a ride with the drivers, or I shadowed the driver as they ferry goods and people for the platforms. I have also worked closely with a small group of young app-based drivers who are all in their early to mid-20s. With the use of smartphones, Google Timeline, and ride-hailing applications, these drivers share with me valuable insights about their regular workdays, the routes and velocity of their trips, reflections about places they went to, and their interactions with different actors on the streets. Regarding mobility frictions, the most pressing challenge for the app-based drivers is to navigate the notorious chaotic streets and the maze of small alleys in Hanoi. While following Thum, a 24-year-old Gojek driver from Nam Ding, I experienced firsthand the stress of ferrying customers during rush hour. As his phone buzzed with notification from the ride-hailing apps, Thum quickly accelerated toward the crowds of motorbikes and cars and instructed me to follow. "We gotta be quick. Follow me, but you have to drive on the sidewalk. Just stick to the sidewalk and do not take the road, or else we can never make it there with this traffic." And indeed, we drove on the sidewalk, although there is a clear violation of traffic rules. For finding ways around the cities, many new drivers have to rely on Google Maps for navigation. Despite this technology, young drivers who are new to the cities and unfamiliar with Hanoi road network often got lost in the maze of small streets and alleyways or stuck in traffic for hours. Dan, a 26-year-old Grab driver from Sơn La, shares concerns about driving around the Old Quarter, a neighborhood that epitomizes the small alley image of Hanoi. It's just like a labyrinth in the Old Quarter. Take one wrong turn and you end up in a one-way street. I much prefer longer trips to districts outside the center. Then I can just zoom on an expressway or a major boulevard. Thus, when new drivers have to venture away from these main thoroughfares, they frequently struggle to find optimal routes. App-based drivers, however, quickly learn from their customers, their peers, or their own experience to find cracks while on the move. This allows young drivers to explore new shortcuts or better routes to avoid and filter through packed traffic. Young app-based drivers are also subjected to social frictions, especially those stemming from confrontations with informal, traditional motorbike taxis or xe ôm in Vietnamese. Linh, a 27-year-old Grab driver from Điện Biên, recorded one of her close encounters at a bus stop near Tân Hoàng Minh apartment complex. Here, informal xe ôm drivers have established their own informal waiting stations to pick up passengers arriving with interprovincial coaches and buses. Linh shared that. "One time I had a customer request to pick up from that bus stop. I was on my phone trying to call her, but then a group of xe ôm drivers came shouting at me, 'Get lost now or we hit you right up.' I didn't say a word, but they were very upset and told me If I were not a student, they would probably hit me already without any warnings. Nonetheless, app-based drivers are beginning to develop new strategies to overcome these frictions. App-based drivers have formed new online communities via social media, and through these virtual social ties, they share advice with their peers about platform new policies, update about traffic jams, or suitable public space to take rest or wait for customer. In Hanoi, young migrant app-based drivers have to cope with multiple frictions to their movements and use of public spaces as they participate in this digitally mediated livelihood. With the use of mobile methods, my research begins to shed light on this complex web of frictions and the sorts of strategies, mobility, and spatial tactics that these drivers employ to mitigate and navigate a rapidly changing social, spatial, and mobility landscapes of the capital city.